Thank you so much for being here. I was just chatting with a couple folks over here about the turnout itself. I'm really impressed. It's such a beautiful night to have people here. I do want to let the whole group know that Pembroke has a concert tonight. So some folks may be running over to see their children perform and trying to find an evening. Obviously there's stuff going on around the district every single night, especially this time of year. So we tried to schedule this event here on this night because the only thing going on is the concert. So if anybody has to run to see their children perform, please do. Okay, so that said, my name's Todd. I'm the superintendent, and I was told I have 1 minute to pass the mic to Dr. Waters because she's got a tight agenda here. But really 3 objectives tonight. One is, of course, to introduce the new Director of Special Education and Pupil Services of Elementary. 2 is to get an update on some of the things that are happening. And 3 is to solicit feedback from all of you and to kind of have some facilitated conversation around some tailored goals. So that said, I do think it's important that I address the fact that our Director of Special Education over the last 3 years is not here this evening. Dr. McGee-Heim is on a leave, and it's a personnel matter right now. And I just felt it was important to just say that in front of the group instead of everyone pretending that that wasn't looming over us. When it's appropriate to share more information, I will. And I'm hopeful that that will be sometime soon. So for right now, Dr. McKenna, who was over there. Mike is our Chief Academic Officer. He oversees special ed from the cabinet level, administration, and then we're going to have some other introductions here in just a moment. Okay, so you're in some really good hands tonight, some wonderful people, and as soon as I can get a little, there we go. Dr. Waters, you're on, okay? Go ahead.
Okay. All right, hi everybody, good evening. Thank you again for being here. It is a beautiful night, so we always appreciate when you kind of give up more time when you could be doing many other things. So again, I'm Deanna Waters, I'm the Assistant Superintendent, and just really happy to welcome you to our forum tonight. I have some introductions. That picture is really, it makes me look like a little younger. That's an old picture. I need to update that. But I do want to kind of introduce you to the other people who will be presenting alongside me this evening. First, where are you, Dr. McKenna? Oh, there he is, Dr. McKenna, our Chief Academic Officer. You want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Mike McKenna, Chief Academic Officer. My main role is to continue to oversee the 13 elementary schools. Also with this new role is also to provide oversight for special education and the 2 special education directors. As Dr. Bauer just mentioned, we currently don't have any working directors right now. Mrs. Kukler will share a little bit when she's starting, which will be early June. But at that time, I am overseeing some items of special education for elementary matters. Dr. Brocksterman is going to take on some secondary elementary matters during this interim period. But mainly under the role of Chief Academic Officer will be, again, overseeing the 13 elementaries and also the 2 special education directors.
Thank you, Dr. McKenna. And Dr. Brocksterman, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Neil Brocksterman, current title is Assistant Director of Student Services and Principal of Northbridge. As Dr. McKenna alluded to, during Dr. McKee-Heim's leave, I'll be taking some of the special education matters related to secondary. I'm pleased to be here, and welcome, and thanks for coming out.
Great. And Mrs. Jackie Gianmarco.
Hi everyone, happy to be here tonight. I am a curriculum supervisor for inclusive practices and professional learning. I've worn many hats in my time here in North Penn. I've been in the district for almost 20 years. I've been a special ed teacher, an inclusion facilitator, an instructional coach, so I'm excited in this new role to really help bridge some of the gaps between the curriculum department and special ed department. I've just started kind of transitioning into this role, so I've been meeting with the inclusion facilitators and special ed teachers, members of the curriculum and special ed department, so I'm excited for what this role will bring.
Great, thank you. I do want to acknowledge that we have many friends here tonight from our admin team, so if you want to just wave over there. There's some back here too. We got a lot of people came out tonight, so thank you all for being here as well. Okay. All right, so as Dr. Bauer shared, tonight we really have a few things that we really are hoping to do this evening, and we really hope that you walk away feeling that this was a productive use of your time. So the first thing that we're going to do, introductions, we still have one more to go. We are going to talk a little bit about the overview. We want to share with you some things that are happening in the district, give you a little bit of an update, and hopefully that'll answer some of the questions you have. And then I would say most importantly, we really want your feedback tonight. We really want to have some time for you to be in some small groups. We have some areas that we believe are things that we've heard some of you say that you want to know more about. Maybe there's things that are going well, and then there might be some things that you've been kind of saying, you know what, this doesn't feel so good. And we want to hear you kind of talk about some of those glows and grows, as we call them, so that we can take your feedback and really help that inform us as we continue to move forward. So again, you know, this partnership is really, really important. Several of you have said to some of us in this room, you know, I don't always feel like my voice is heard. Some of you have said, I'd really love an opportunity for you to hear more. The communication, we want to see that get better. So this is us responding to that. So I do hope, again, that tonight, even if it's the first step in a direction of us working together and really tightening up that so that all of you walk out of here knowing that we are committed to doing right by your children, and that next school year you feel really good about all of your experiences. So that's kind of our goal for the evening. Okay? All right. All right, so without further ado, I'm really pleased to introduce to you our new Special Education Director for the Elementary Department, and this is Mrs. Allison Kuchar. And she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, and we're really excited to welcome you to the team.
All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out. It's so nice to see so many parents here and family members already. My name is Allison Kukler. I am coming to you in my 24th year as a special educator. I have 12 years of experience as a classroom teacher at various levels and places, and 12 years of experience as an administrator. So I'm ready to start this next phase of my career. I'm really excited to be here in my plan. I want to tell you a little bit about me, just because I also am just a human being in addition to doing this as my job. So I am very much into yoga and fitness and being outside. So you can see that picture there. That's my daughter crouching on a little rock over there. This is my family. We spend a lot of time together. My husband is a high school math teacher. My children are 19 and 21. My 19-year-old just finished her first year at Westchester, and my 21-year-old went to a tech college and now works full-time in concrete and masonry. My children, the two of them, have given me the experience of being a parent of a child with an IEP, a child with a GIEP, and a child with a 504 service agreement. So I have sat in that parent seat through my two children, which is a very unique experience to have, and I very much respect where you're coming from in that seat as well. I also like to spend time cooking and gardening. This loaf here of sourdough looks better than it tasted, but I have like 25 loaves later. I think I've sort of perfected it, so you know, that's something I do to occupy my mind in the off time. My general philosophy of special education is up here for you, and I think what's so important is that we are all part of the team for our children together. Everybody has a unique role that they're bringing to the team, and so we have to figure out how we can do all of what a child needs together. And when we maybe have differences of opinion or thoughts, we have to hear each other and figure out how we can pull those things together to support your children. This is my general philosophy that I try to apply to everything that I do, whether it is sitting in your child's IEP meeting as a member of the team, or helping to lead the elementary part of the department, and whatever else that involves. So this is what I try to apply to everything that I do in this job. You'll hear Dr. Brosterman talk a little bit later about our special education core values, but I was really pleased when I was going through the interview process to see that my philosophy of special education really aligns so nicely with North Penn's core values. And so you'll see, as I said, Dr. Brockstrom will talk about presuming competence and collaboration, and having high expectations, individualization, celebrating diversity and belonging, and that sort of breaks down my philosophy really nicely. So that was really important to me to see that there was a nice merge there. For me, what's important to me is to connect with all of you, to learn from all of you, and to plan with all of you. And so these are some of the questions that are in my mind as we get to know each other a little bit better. So just know that if I end up asking you any of these questions, it really is going to help me help you as families and the district as a whole really improve on the work that is already being done at the elementary level. And I wanted to just show you what my entry plan was. This was something I had to present as I was going through the process, and I want you to see that your children and you are part of my entry plan too. I've had a visitation day already, and I got into 6 schools, which was great. So I really just wanted to see your kids in school. I want to see what their school experience is like. So I was really happy to be able to get to see 6 schools, and I'll be here again this week to do some other things. I officially start on June 3rd. I plan to spend most of that week in schools too, before the kids are out for the summer. So I just wanted you to see where you fit into this. I'm hoping that we can do some other more intimate community meet and greets over the summertime. So be on the lookout for some communication about that. So as I said, I'm here to support all the elementary schools, so I'm really excited to be here with you. Thank you.
I'm not going to read this vision statement, but I think it's really important to put up here and share. And I didn't say earlier, I do want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Your engagement, collaboration, partnership in the realm of special education, there's nothing more important than that. And I know, Dr. Waters spoke of having that voice and providing input and feedback, and that's part of what we want to accomplish tonight and how important that is, and getting your feedback and your input to continually improve and enhance what we're currently doing here in the area of special education. We have, as we know, a very large school district, almost 13,000 students here in North Penn, and about 18% of those students have an IEP. So if you did the math, it's about 2,400 students in North Penn have an IEP. And if you can imagine, that's larger than some school districts that we have just students with IEPs here in North Penn. If you look at the math, it fills probably about 5 of our elementary schools if you combine the number of students in those schools. So here in North Penn, we do have a significant amount of students who do have IEPs, and that's not even counting when we talk about also the other neurodivergent students, those with 504s or GIEPs or other areas as well. So we have a plethora and a large amount of students to service here in North Penn. And I know I've spoken to many of you and know your students and your stories and experiences. And that one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't work for special education, because we have so many unique abilities from our students that come in our doors each and every day. And that's a challenge for us, right? To make sure that we have the programs and services that best meet all of your students that walk in our doors who have a disability or a need that come here for North Penn. So 2,400 students come in our doors every day with IEPs, and our job is to best meet their abilities each and every day. And that can be a challenging task at times, and that's why your partnership and your collaboration and working with us is the best way that we can best support your children. And that's why we're here today, is making sure that your voice and your input and your feedback is valued, and that we can partner together, again, to best support many of those students who walk in our doors each and every day with IEPs. Dr. Bauer came to our leadership team over the summer and kind of asked about some things that were really important priorities for us, and you'll see many of us use these symbols or these words pretty often, and this is what's important to us when we talk about our priorities. That's why we share it often. When we talk about ensuring belonging, elevating learning, exceeding expectations, and engaging the community. So we talk about tonight, engaging the community with all of you here is an important expectation that we have and a priority that we have here in North Penn. So again, thank you very much for coming tonight. We really value your input and feedback. And when we break up into small groups, that is an opportunity to continue to share that input and feedback with us.
Thank you, Dr. McKenna. I get the pleasure of talking about our core values as a department. You can see a picture of our staff at ESY, some of our supervisors attending Special Olympics, not ESY, I apologize. Special Olympics. Our team got together as supervisors. I'm with Dr. McKee-Heim to look at, originally we had a separate vision for special education, separate from the district. As a group, we collectively felt we really shouldn't have a separate vision. Our vision is the same as the district. But we did want to talk about some of the core values we have as a department, what we believe we should be working towards and trying to achieve some of those 4 E's that Dr. McKenna and Dr. Bauer had outlined. First being presuming competence, thinking about our students' strengths as they enter the doors, all the way from when they're walking in the doors in kindergarten as they continue to grow, trying to keep in mind that we always want to focus on strengths and assets, not just their differences. Unfortunately, some of the documentation drives you to looking at and building goals around needs, but we need to also look to how do we access students' assets and their gifts and their strengths to help work maybe potentially on some of those goals. But believing that kids can do things and starting with that belief in the beginning. Also, we've talked about numerous times tonight, collaborating with you as families, being partners. We're not always going to agree, and trying to work through that in a productive and healthy way, and trying to collaborate and trying to, achieve success for all of our kids. And working in that collaborative mindset is one of our core values, and continuing to get better at that. Obviously, holding high expectations for all students, kind of building on that idea of presumed competence, making sure that we're getting our students access to a rigorous curriculum, meeting them where they're at, but also trying to push and encourage them to access the general education curriculum as much as they can, and in certain areas, also pushing them and extending them beyond that. Finally, our last 2 is individualized. Dr. McKenna mentioned our challenges with 2,400 students, developing and trying to work with an individual path. We're working with that individual child to try to come up with a path to success, and getting the right mixture of supports and services to support their independence and support their goals after they leave us. Because all this is working, it seems like a long time, but it's really finite, that time that we have your children. So they're going to be out in our communities, in our larger society for a much longer period of time. So really trying to maximize the time we have together and individualize those paths so that they have success even after they leave our doors. And then finally, this one's really important to me, celebrating diversity and belonging, really making our kids feel like they belong as part of the regular school community. We're doing some intensive work, I think Dr. McKenna might talk a little bit about tonight, with our disability, our inclusive curriculum and our grant that we're a part of, and that really is rooted in terms of inclusive curriculum. Originally, when we talked about it, I thought it was going to be a legitimate curriculum they handed to us, but it's not that. It's really about a mindset, and it's linked to that last core value of really trying to build a sense of belonging around some differences and about how we make sure all kids feel like they belong. Thank you.
Mike and I are going to tag team this slide. So Mike, do you want to start?
All right, I'll start. So in North Penn, we do a lot of work here in the cultural proficiency, equity, and inclusion. That I piece is really important, and we've really started to take an intentional and focused approach to inclusion when we talk about CPE and I. We did add a 5th subcommittee called Systems and Structure. Some of our parents here this evening are also part of that committee and provide input for that committee. Some of the work that we've done this year are really, some of them focused on inclusive practices. Some of the work actually it's going to happen this summer has come a lot from that feedback from that group. We have supporting our inclusion facilitators and the inclusion toolkit. We've also talked a lot about our onboarding procedures in regards to our paraprofessionals, which is so important in a school district like ourselves. The feedback from the committee, which is a diverse group of, again, parents, administrators, teachers. We even have a paraprofessional also on our committee to talk about various items that relate to the systems and structures that support our school district, and many of them are focused in the area of special education.
In terms of universal design for learning, we have a few buildings that are part of a cohort. Penfield and Inglewood have been working with the IU for 2 years now, part of that cohort, and Montgomery joined this year. And in addition to that, we've done some targeted teacher leader training, bringing together our inclusion facilitators, our learning coaches, and our school climate coordinators to really talk about, okay, let's build our foundation of UDL, and then how do we take this and kind of embed it in the jobs that they're doing in the buildings to support inclusive practices and really just creating a sense of belonging in all school environments. And so those have been really productive conversations as well. Oh, sure. For those of you who don't know what Universal Design for Learning is, it's really a framework. And the whole goal of the framework is to provide access and belonging for all. So really it's not about, and Mike talked a little bit, and Dr. Broxman about kind of focusing on assets and strengths. It's really about how do we minimize barriers in the environment. So it's not about, what's wrong with a student or why can't they do that. It's how do we remove the barriers for the students so that they can access learning. It may, and it can look all sorts of ways. It can be environmental. It can be through the content that they're receiving. So really just talking about how that looks in our schools and how we can use that as a mindset to approach instruction as well.
Dr. Broxter mentioned the Disability Inclusive Curriculum pilot. We're one of 10 school districts across the state that were awarded that grant. I'm just going to read you what it is because sometimes many people don't realize what it is. The program promotes topics and subject matter for instruction to all students, will help learners understand that disability is a natural part of the human condition, and will emphasize the critical contributions of individuals with disabilities. So we've done some work already, working mainly with focus on 3 particular elementary schools, but we're working on ways that we can integrate those ideas across all of the elementary schools and definitely across the district at some point. Looking at common read-alouds for each grade level is one area we're working on, so that whatever school you're in, there's a common read-aloud from kindergarten through 6th grade that touches on a different disability. And again, this curriculum is for all students, not just focused on special education. We've also talked about various assemblies that we're looking to bring in. We've already brought in some already. Also, some of the grant provides professional development. One of the areas is to purchase this book and do some professional development for all of our administrators this summer. And this is an amazing book, Demystifying Disability. So some of our work is also working with the students about educating about disability, but also working with our administration and staff as well.
And then PBIS is Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, is a Tier 1 framework that we use and is being implemented at all 13 elementary schools. And it's really just like a school-wide system for approaching behavior and, again, positive school culture. All 13 elementary schools are implementing that. Some are a little bit further along in implementation. And then our 3 middle schools are going through training right now to enter consortium and begin next year. And so that's something that's been expanded over the years. And we're excited about that. You may have heard about like some assemblies celebrating some kind of work that's happening in the buildings, principals getting pied in the face, things like that at the elementary level. Really a lot of fun and support students. And just social emotional learning in general. Since COVID, actually before COVID really, we were implementing Second Step at the elementary level. That expanded to all 13 elementary schools. And we have started this year implementing School Connect at the middle school level. And also piloted Night Zone at the high school level to really provide kind of like a soft landing for high school students and really transition in school. It's been really positive, well received by students and staff. It provides opportunities for intervention. Students can go get help from teachers or make up assignments. But if they don't have that going on, they can also just go play basketball, or they can take a quiet study hall in the library, things like that, whatever they need. And so I think that's going to be continuing next year, and we're looking to just continue our efforts to really support students as we move forward.
All right, thank you, Mike and Jackie. Okay, so as I mentioned a little earlier when I spoke before, tonight we are going to be breaking into groups, and I just want to talk you through what that's going to look like. We do have facilitators back there. They're smiling and can't wait to talk with you. They're going to be taking you to different classrooms so that you have an opportunity to really have some small group discussion. We want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be heard, and so that is why we were very intentional about your groups. And so if you don't remember your group, we'll make sure you have all that information. When you get into the classroom, like I mentioned earlier, you'll have an opportunity to talk about some glows and some grows. So these are things that you might even hear your children mention, but the glows are obviously the things that are going really well. There's some positive things we hope that you will say tonight. We hope that there's something that you feel really good about and you share that, because we want to know if something is going well. We want to maintain it. We want to keep doing that. We also want to know the grows. So the grows are obviously the things that you're not as happy about. We need to know those too so that we can continue to get better, okay? I know you'll be honest, so I don't even need to say that. I already know you're going to be honest. All right, so when you're in your groups and you'll have an opportunity to kind of talk through those 4 areas, maybe I didn't mention them yet, but I will. There's 4 areas that we'll have you talk about. And then at the end, we're all going to come back here together so that we can talk about next steps, okay? So the 4 areas that we really thought long and hard about, we really wanted to make sure that this was a meaningful opportunity for you to provide feedback. And so when we thought about conversations we've had with some of you, when we thought about maybe feedback from surveys that we do in the district and we read all of this, we even did a survey recently with staff around special education and got their feedback. So when you look at all of that, these are the 4 areas that we thought might really give us the most bang for our buck this evening. Might not cover everything, but again, we do think that these areas hopefully will capture some of the things that you want to share. If they don't, there is some space on your sheet where you can add some other comments. So you can also note anything that maybe doesn't fit into these areas. But the first one that we want you to really reflect on are those special education core values that Dr. Broxteman mentioned. Okay, you'll have an opportunity to kind of talk through all of them. What are some things about them, again, that feel good for you, and maybe some things that you feel like are missing or don't feel good. We said we're doing this, but I don't see that. The other one, communication and collaboration. Again, you've heard that word collaboration a lot this evening. Communication. One of the things that we've already been talking about as a team is just wanting to be more transparent, wanting to make sure that you are in the know, in the loop as much as we can. And so, again, this is an opportunity for you to really provide some feedback in that area. Another area that comes up quite a bit, and it's coming up with staff as well, and so we have some plans to continue to develop our staff, our administrators, all of us. You know, when you're in education, we're always on that journey. We don't stop learning. It's very important. And so not just for our administrators, our teachers, our staff, but also for our families. If there are supports and things that you feel you need that we can provide, we want to know about that. And then finally, the IEP process. You heard earlier, you are an integral part of that process. And I know from speaking with some of you directly that you don't always feel that way. And so we want to know what does feel good about those meetings and what does not. And again, we'll take all of this feedback. We'll kind of work as a team. We meet over the summer. We're here all summer working, and that gives us a lot of opportunity to come together. We have leadership academies and meetings where we're all here on Wednesdays in meetings a lot of times. And so this is an opportunity to kind of take that feedback and put some action behind it. Okay, next slide. Before we break into groups, one of the things I also, if you go back to those 4 E's that Dr. McKenna spoke of, ensuring belonging, elevating learning, those 4 E's, there's engaging the community, and exceeding expectations. When I think about, you know, those 4 areas that you're going to be thinking about, I was thinking today earlier, you know, Well, when you think about, ensuring belonging, well, that has to do with, the communication. But when I really looked at those 4 areas that you're going to think about tonight, it's really all of them. All of the 4 E's that we're committed to in North Penn align to all of the things that we're asking you to give us feedback on tonight. And so again, it is really important, and I hope that you'll see the connection as you talk in your groups. All right, Jackie's back up.
So you should, on your tables, have a paper. This is your reflection paper. We're going to give you some time to really just sit quietly, reflect. The core values are there for your reference. And then you're going to go through and just make some notes. Sometimes it can be hard in the middle of a discussion to really kind of gather your thoughts. We wanted to give you that time now to just make some notes. As Dr. Waters mentioned, there is on the last page an area for other helpful ideas. So maybe it's not directly related to one of those 4 topics, but there's another space where you can provide that. And then there's also a space for your name, your buildings, and really for you to share, areas that you're, interested in collaborating on. This is important because we're going to collect these papers tonight. Again, we're going to be making notes of some trends as discussion is happening, but your feedback's really important. And so we want to be able to your building's really important, so we can say, okay, this is a trend across all of elementary, or this is a trend across K-12. So be sure to fill that out, and you're going to hand this paper into your small group facilitator at the end of those discussions. Okay, so we're going to start a timer and just give some quiet time for you to jot down your notes so that you can kind of enter the conversation with your thoughts gathered.